Like so?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm rolling.
What is it to be human? I think it's to be able to speak and to feel openly. Being able to say, I'm not okay.
It's a passion for life, finding that passion and reaching it at some point, hopefully.
Every obstacle that you face, there's like a certain joy when you overcome it. There's a certain sense of accomplishment which adds quality to your life, I guess, in a way.
I would say that life is
Variable.
ever-changing.
A challenge.
It's a journey.
It's a literal roller coaster.
It has its ups and downs.
Life is a challenge.
The way that you think right now and answer these questions, it's always going to change as you're growing. Even if there is no result, how do you find comfort?
As I was thinking about what life is, I don't have the same outlook as I did a few weeks ago or 1 month ago. That's the thing about life. It forces you to adapt and to change and to embrace and to let go as well. I guess every few weeks it's like a new skin grows, like a season changes, new thoughts and your ideologies shift.
It changes consistently, and you just have to sort of keep up with those changes.
Is there a difference between existing and living? I think so. See, it's so difficult for me to say what living really is because it's so personal and it comes from a privileged place. So my living and my existing are determined by me. How I define living and existing is so different, so I think how many others may define living and existing. I mean, I've created that fine line. I definitely think there's a difference, but at the same time, I think then again, everyone chooses what's existing for them and what's living for them. I'm privileged enough to live in a home and have all my my basic needs fulfilled. That might be regarded as living and not just existing. Existing may be a level below that. So everything above that seems like it's part of living, whereas many struggle for those basic rights.
Every creature on this earth exists. What makes us different from them is how we face our challenges, how in the face of difficulty we rise and learn from it, even though we fail, we get up, pick it up, move on, and enjoy the little things in life. I think that's what life is all about.
So the difference between living and existing, I feel like they're very different things because everyone lives, everyone is alive, but to exist is to me, is to live out what God has set out for you. To be doing something with your life, what are you doing? What meaning are you bringing to the world? How are you affecting somebody? Well, what are you doing in someone else's life that affects them? That's to exist, to have meaning to yourself and to the people around you. What more? I feel it's the more that makes you exist. That's what gives you presence.
Living, it involves, actually using 3 aspects of yourself: your heart, your mind, your body. Heart represents truth. And if we ever had an essence, whatever that essence is, using your mind, being active with your mind and thinking about your life, how your mind affects your interactions. Body, it's like your experiences, things that you're able to do, keeping yourself healthy, keeping yourself sustained, because your body affects your mind. Joining mind, body and heart, that's what I'd say more so is living. The difference with existing is that one, you're not really engaging in what you're doing. You're not really thinking about how you're living, that sort of thing. Although it can get complicated when you're overthinking it. So that fine line between balancing yourself on living and just becoming someone who's existing either in their mind or existing only in your body. Existence is an incongruence between body, mind, and heart.
I think there is no difference between living and existing. We are all here and we're all now, and what we have is the present. I don't have the present any less than you because you are living and I'm existing, or the other way around, for example.
I think we're not just passively taking up space in this very limited time. We come alive and we're brought alive by our passions because of what drives us, the reasons to do stuff and to become something that gives us purpose. But I think existing is more of we're there. Living is more of why are we there?
What it means to be kept alive, to be saved, well, to me, is to have a feeling of purpose. And the only way you get to that is through your own life experience and having to accept all the challenges that you have to face and to overcome them.
Save. Save is a very, I don't know, maybe it's the mindset I have, but it comes off quite patronizing. Unless I'm in a huge problem or facing something catastrophic, then I'd want to be saved. But I guess it's a little patronizing. It just saving implies that someone else is helping you, saving you, someone else is doing it. But I guess you can also take it as you saving yourself, standing up for yourself. I think that's what it would mean to me, saving yourself.
I think we might need saving. For the most part, I wish we didn't need saving, because you can say, what is saving you? Well, what if I don't want to be saved? But at the end of the day, we are alive and we're on this planet, and there's so much that happens that we cannot ignore the fact that we suffer. And I would much rather not suffer on my own.
I think if one is saved, it means that you have secured yourself from completely giving in, caving to the things that weigh heavy on your mind. The comfort that you find in saying, I'm not okay, but I'll get better, is what it means to be saved. That overarching thought that no matter what happens, you know that tomorrow is coming and that bad things won't last forever.
The first word that sort of comes to my mind is the cry for help. It's a need from someone else. You can't do everything on your own. You need help. When I'm linking these two words together, I think it's a sense of humility where you're able to say, I'm not capable of understanding everything on my own. And as much struggle and sort of tragedy I've gone through, you can accept so many different opinions in different places.
Humanity is nothing without human feeling, human emotion and thoughts, people reaching out to each other. Being human means to feel and to think and to reach out and reach within.
I don't think we need to be saved. I think we just need to learn how to work together and resolve our own problems. I don't think there's one savior to come save us. I think we're all saviors in our own right. We can solve our problems and work through it.
If I relate it back to the question that you asked me before, what is saving and what is to save someone? I think it is, as I said, closely intertwined with help. And in that sense, I definitely do think we need saving, because we need guidance through others. I think you can't live a life in isolation. And if you choose to, I think you're just neglecting so many of, so much. You're isolating yourself from a world of opportunity. So I definitely do think we need saving or help.
I don't want to grow up being old, and have regrets, wishing I had done something, knowing it would have benefited me in a certain way, because I feel these opportunities can only present themselves to you when you're ready, when you are at that mindset to drive yourself forward, because opportunities that continue to push you through life don't just drop on your lap. You have to put yourself out there. You have to save yourself.
The purpose of suffering is different for every person. I think it's all depending on how you take it. We all know the saying that the same water that softens a potato will harden an egg. And I'm always like, please don't let me be that egg. I don't want to be hardened. But suffering, I don't personally think that you can get away from this life, unscathed. It's going to change you in some way.
Suffering in life, so it can humble you a little bit, but at the same time, it's almost like a challenge, a way of growing, learning different things. Not everything is going straight, so it serves learning how to adapt. That's the role suffering, at least for me, has played. In situations with people, I'll just use that example, where someone has caused you suffering. It gives you the opportunity to now decide whether you're going to propagate suffering or whether you're going to make a decision to change what you've experienced. At some point, actually, probably at some point I was such a loud mouth, and I was like, I was a loud mouth, and then when I started having more of these interactions, I sort of withdrew from people. But I don't feel hate towards people. It's not in that sense, it's just that I feel it's like a protection mechanism.
Suffering in my life came in the form of depression and anxiety, and it wasn't easy. It was paralyzing anxiety, it was paralyzing depression. I couldn't do anything with my life. I just existed in a way. I didn't live for a long time. That was my suffering. We've been taught to be strong, independent, powerful, right? That's what we aspire for. To almost look invincible to the world, to get through. I think that obviously influences how you feel about yourself. And when you're facing something, let it be depression, anxiety, an eating disorder, whatever, you feel like you need to overcome it yourself. And when you can't, it's my fault, I can't overcome this. This is my problem. And I can't show anyone, or else I'll look weak. I'll look not invincible. Asking for help is okay. That's what I learned from depression. Not taking everything on yourself, not blaming yourself for everything. Just reaching out and asking for help from your loved ones or whoever's closest to you.
To be honest, I thought it was something very necessary for all of us to be able to grow and to reflect within ourselves, and because many of us are afraid to suffer because it's uncomfortable, and then we hold ourselves back from learning and from being able to say, listen, I was wrong, I'm sorry. These sufferings are necessary for us to sort of blink our eyes and look at the world with fresh eyes, in the sense that we need to provoke that deeper conversation, that internal interrogation and the reflection that we need to be able to say, listen, I need to change this, or these are my weaknesses and these are my strengths, and this is what I can change, and this is how I can be the best version of myself. But at the same time, I don't know what to say to someone who has lost his world and is in that type of suffering where not even I can see the light for them, where I can't say, listen, it's going to be okay, or being so close to an elder and then watching them wither away How do you tell someone you're gonna be fine? For me, suffering, that kind of suffering, I can't make sense out of. So
I think personally, after seeing certain degrees of unhappiness and tragedy, and sort of placing that on a spectrum, I think you sort of become more grateful for things that might not have been grateful had you not experienced that. As an example, when I was a young kid, I lost my father. Now that was at the time, it was a shock. I mean, I was 13, I was young, I didn't really understand its significance. But now you sort of place that in a relative scale to sort of the hardships that you face. Studying, for example. I mean, how difficult is it really to balance your life between having a job and, studying and, going home and being with your family? Like, to be frank, I think it allows you to grow up, in a sense. And then you sort of subconsciously rank things from toughness to, wow, this is not actually that bad, I can do it, It gives you that place, but it's something, I think, within yourself where you can say, I've done and I've gone through this struggle before, and I think that was a lot more difficult than passing this test. Therefore, why should it be such a struggle to graft a bit and pass this? So I think you learn through greater tragedies, and you're able to find a sort of you're able to create like a ladder of what you can do and what you can't.
Yes, I dropped out of UJ, and the reason why I dropped out is because I didn't enjoy what I was studying. So having dropped out, I put myself in a position where I was like, okay, I'm going to really put myself to the biggest test of my life. I'm going to prove that my skills are of worth and it can take me back to school. Having dropped out of UJ, I put myself in a position where I had to prove my skills that, okay, what I have, I feel is God-given, like there's a purpose. Because when I was talking to my parents about dropping out, that's what I was telling them. I felt like my place wasn't there. I had to come home, master my craft, and go back to school, And for them, it was a matter of, okay, well, you're gonna have to pay for it, So I had to raise money with my artworks. So having put myself in that position, I forced myself to settle on this decision that I made, and I was going to commit to it, to take this responsibility head on, and to just keep on going with it. And at the end of the year, I managed to raise money to go back to school. That's why I'm even here now, It helps you realize all of the potential that you have, and you come to realize these are the things that God tells you, like His plans that He has for you, They're there, but then I feel like it only comes through once you've challenged yourself, once you've worked. To me, it's like a earn sort of thing. Don't just sit around and do nothing, because what God gives us is opportunity, I feel. Not to say that He doesn't, bless people or anything like that, but for most of us, we're presented with opportunity and we're challenged to take it, because to get these opportunities, it's always something that takes you out of your comfort zone,
So, how do I find my meaning? I think the way I sort of, for the last couple of years of my life, I've started approaching every day and finding meaning in the smallest things. I don't know, making my mom happy when I go home. I think that I find a lot of meaning in that. Seeing that, that my family is healthy. Obviously, none of us are perfect, and sometimes we see a guy standing on the side of the road and he asks us for cash, and we say, oh, sorry, we can't, but in a matter of fact, we've got like R5 just like chilling there. We could easily give it to him. So like we're not perfect, and I'm able to acknowledge that. But I think it's finding meaning in your own circle, and I think it does start with your family. I think it's finding meaning through health and smiles and things like that.
I think it's okay for me to say that I'm saving myself because I'm able to be the one to decide. I'm not gonna let depression or emotion weigh me down. And at the end of the day, when I turn to God and I feel I need to, it's me, it's myself who makes the decision to say, listen, I need to resort to my spirituality. I need to get back into that frequency. I need to reach out to God and see what's happening. But at the end of the day, sometimes I can't talk to God. I can't approach Him. I feel empty and I feel numb. And so I think the thing that saves me is being straight up with myself, being honest, and being able to say, if no one else has your back, I do. And it's always been a thing that I said, I always used to say this thing. When I got Instagram, it always used to be my hashtag, do you, boo-boo, do you, So I always had this thing like, stay true to yourself. And so I think what saves me is just that mentality, being there for yourself.
It's largely the idea that it's my only chance, as far as I know, to live. So as far as I can, I want to explore the things that I naturally feel I naturally feel some sort of attraction to. And parts of it is also music, because when I started doing music, it was after like a really weird time. So then music came, and it was like it serves as a distraction, something where you're engaging your mind and you're engaging your actual body. And yeah, it's actually reached the point where I feel it in my heart.
At the moment, it's a very difficult question to answer because a lot has changed in my life over the past year, 2 years. A lot has changed in terms of what I'm studying, what my way of thinking has been altered dramatically. So I'm still searching for my purpose in life. So I think the search is what the search gives me, helps me wake up in the morning and to find out what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to be.
Art saves me because it's sort of like an outlet, and it was the outlet that I had depended on a lot last year when I was taking a gap year. So, through those issues, I dealt with them through art, because some art pieces, although it's not very direct on what they mean, but to me personally, most of them do have emotional meaning to them, and it's usually the best one. I feel like my artwork shows where I am emotionally, spiritually, in that sort of sense, because there's certain elements to my art pieces that to me have meanings to them. The more original art pieces, those ones I always put in thought, and every time I'm making it, I'm thinking of my future, where I want to be, where I've come from, why I'm here, what I'm doing. And that pushes me to really put out something that I feel is satisfactory to me.
I want to ask these questions, and I want to question myself, to say, is everything that you always thought that you believed in and you stood for, is it sound? Is it something that you really can believe in? Can it save you? I'm just at that point in my life where I feel like nothing makes sense. I thought that I had a plan and that I knew what I believed and all that stuff, but I think you come to a point in your life where you realize that this life actually doesn't make sense. Like, you're like, what is going on? That wasn't supposed to happen. Wait a minute. And I think that's part of growing up, is asking the difficult questions. I don't want to blindly believe in something and not ask these questions and just think that there's some higher power that's going to take care of me. I'm human and I'm trying to figure it out. I find meaning from asking these questions and comfort from understanding that I'm not the only one asking them.
I think for me, I sort of find my own personal meaning through asking these questions. I care about this because it seems like it's worthy of caring about. It seems like you can find meaning. Well, I can find my personal meaning when I question things like this. So I think it's easier and it's much more comfortable to put these questions aside and live a life just filled with material goods or whatever else it may be. It's a lot easier to put these questions aside and sort of live a more, I wouldn't say superficial, because then again that's also a relative term, but live a life without worrying about these sort of struggles. Because I think the greater amounts of struggles you go through, the more you're sort of exposed to I wouldn't say real world again, but you're exposed to a different dimension. And I don't know if it's a good thing, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but I think it's worth questioning. And then again, at the same time, it's almost difficult if you're not put in a position where you have to question, because it seems easy not to.
People choose to be ignorant of the real problems, and they would focus on their own problems. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily anything completely wrong with that. Some people are just comfortable that way, to just involve themselves in what's relevant to them, and just ignore what's going on around them. I don't like, being contained. If I wanted to reach out to something, I would want to reach as far as I could,
Not all of us may be able to one day say, I'm at peace, or this has been resolved, and for us to sort of find comfort in unresolved things, that should be our resolve. Being able to say, I'm not okay, and to be able to accept it. I was watching something on TV during Ramadan, I think 3 years ago, and there was a teacher talking, and he said that when you do something wrong or something has happened to you and it's an evil, or if there's a regret that you have that is weighing you down, that man said that you need to make it into something. You need to speak it and bring it into existence, and only then, once you have acknowledged it, can you set it aside and be done with it. Tell it how it is. You need to be able to say and be honest with yourself, this is where I messed up, I fucked up like this, or this is fucked up and it's been hurting me.
It's a learning process. It's very difficult, especially in the beginning. There's so many times where you want to give up and then where you do give up. But I think it's very important to have that drive on your own. You need to get to that point or find that one thing that will get you out of bed in the morning. That will say, even if you give up one day and the next day you're like, no, I can't be doing this. I need to move on with my life. I need to live it. I think you need to find that one thing or a cause or a career path or a certain goal that you want to achieve. That
there is no result yet, not for me anyway. I think we're coming of age is a lifelong process, is what I read the other day. We're never gonna find resolve. We're always learning. There are gonna be questions that we don't have answers to, and that should be okay.
It's not worth giving up or anything, because you're gonna die anyway at some point. So why bring it now? Every situation that you go through, at some point it will pass.
So I think it's easier said than done. I can tell you how it would be written in a self-help book, where I look for hope on a day-to-day basis, and when I'm kicked down, and then where you look to stand up. As I said, it's all relative. It's all based on like the amount of privileges that I've been given up until today. So I don't want to say, I don't want to say this is. It's a scripted process, because I don't think it is.
I feel to be saved, to really get yourself out of your slums, you have to challenge yourself to climb out of the pits that you're in. You can't just sit and cry about it or just be within your own sorrows. I mean, it's important to understand and take your difficult times, your sadness, your sorrows for what they are, because at the same time, it helps you grow.
I think everybody sort of has to dig themselves out of that hole.
My name is Angeline.
Shreya.
My name is CK.
Sage.
Sameera.
My name is Yanir.
What anchors me is art.
Living in the now.
Being proactive.
Mine here and now.
The search for my purpose is keeping me alive.
And when can we start? Go.
Take one, action, recording one. Hi, my name is Sameera. I've been a non-alcoholic for pretty much all
Alright,
my
let's stop
life.
faffing around.
Okay.